You all, I have been talking my heart out. Oh my goodness. Okay. Can you I hope you all can I had myself on mute. You all, I have been talking my heart out. Hold on a second. Oh my god. Okay, you all, I'm so sorry. Let me cut this down. I had it all pulled up for you all. So I hope you all got the yeah, I had it go my computer up. I had it pulled up like the video pulled up on two different slides on the computer or two different websites on the computer. So I think that's why it's the echo. Let me know if you all still hear it echo um in there. But hopefully you all don't. I'm hoping you all don't hear echo now. And let me do this. Okay, great. Oh my goodness. I hope you all are having a great summer. What I'm doing right now is switching over so I can do a better job of seeing the comments. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go to the group and just notify everybody in the group. I encourage y'all, if you know someone that can benefit from this training, I really want to encourage you all to share it with them. I'm going to have all of the videos posted to where you can access them to the end of August. So please, if you know someone that can benefit from the training, please, please, please share it with them. So let me see. Oh, yep. Please join me. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. Whoa, and get started. I'm gonna put my picture up here. Let me see. Slideshow, play from current slide. Oops. Let me do this first. So options, show picture in picture. So you can see me right there. And we are going to play from current slide right here. And I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I want to make sure I'm super respectful of you all's time. I know in the chat earlier, I had put in there access to a few things. If you all asked me about that yesterday, and I'll link them again as I go. But I linked my routines and procedures template. You'll see mine's in there that I wrote in there like 2 or 3 years ago. But you can see them and you can delete them out. Like if you download it completely, then you will be able to delete out mine, see what I wrote for some of them, and then delete them out. I'll have that available to you for a limited time as well. So if you want to kind of go through that and use those, you can. The next thing is I put in there as well as the procedure chart that you all saw yesterday, that the 6 steps that I normally use in introducing those procedures, those same 6 steps that I'm going to go back to basics and use again this school year. So I linked that as well. And I also linked in there, I feel like I'm missing, I had three things that I linked, but I can't remember the third thing. My classroom routines template, I have that. The procedure chart. And oh, yes, today I'm going to be showing you all an infographic of how to set high expectations. And I found this really cool one. And so I'm linked that as well so you can have access to that as well. So I'm going to jump in. Can everybody just put in the chat with just an emoji? How are you feeling today? Describe your describe how you're feeling this morning, this afternoon. You can use an emoji. For me, I wish I can access them on my end. But I know for me, it's starting to get a little real. So 3.5 more days I have before in service week, and so I think I'm kind of like just I don't know, a little starting to get a little anxious about it. Um, I guess I feel that way every year because you kind of go in, you just don't know sometimes what to expect. Also excited. I know I feel excited about everything what's to come. So if you want to put in the chat, how are you feeling? You can use an emoji to describe it. Go ahead and do that. Yeah, I'm like you, Miss Hutchins. That's the exact one I feel. Rhonda's like she feeling really good. Rhonda, keep that momentum going. I love that. So good. And Adam, shout out to you. Adam, so happy you're able to make it today. I'm glad that you all can come here. And I love this part. This is one of my favorite things is setting high expectations with students and showing them how to do it and being really intentional about it. I think a lot of people, I can be very transparent with you all. A lot of people think that, just because you have language learners that for some reason that expectations need to be lowered. And that's not the case. We all know that's not the case. And so this is something that um, I deal with this. I've seen it with some ESL teachers, but a lot of times I see it with gen ed teachers as well that this happens. Like, oh, they just can't do it. And I always say, yes, they can do it. They can. A lot of times, and this has happened to me this past school year, and I always have data ready. Like when this happens, I'm always like, this is their data. Like, and this shows that they can do it. They can do it. So this is a side note for you. Always have, if you are, I know a couple of y'all mentioned data binders for your students. Get those if you have not already. Get those data binders ready for them. Start collecting data for them. So when you get pushback from teachers saying, oh, they can't do that. Yeah, they can. I promise you they can. So we're going to go ahead and dive in today. And today, that's what we're going to be talking about is how you can establish high expectations with your language learners the first week of school. So you're going into the first week of school with your students and you are setting those high expectations with them. And it's something intentional that you can do, something really easy that you can do. And it does not have to be overly complicated. So I'm going to walk you through today how to do that, some just simple things that you can do. I want to encourage you all, change if you're having struggling with this. It may be a mindset thing, and that's something that you may have to work through. And sometimes I even kind of get caught up in that too. And I'm always like, well, let me go back to the data. What do I know? What are they showing me? What have I seen? So just remember that as you're going and you're starting this process. Once again, I want to encourage you all to turn off all distractions if you have not already. Just make sure that you are focused. If you have your workbook, you need your pencil and your pen as we dive into today's lesson. Once again, I'm so excited that I look like I'm streaming both places. So that is absolutely wonderful. So make sure that you are going into this and you have no distractions. So let me see here. Share to my really quickly. Okay, I just want to make sure mine is right where I can see it. And the next thing I want to share with you all is our weekly journey. So first thing we did was our kickoff, which we did on Sunday. Yesterday, we talked about routines and procedures, and you had a homework assignment that I hope you all were able to do as well. And if it's okay if you're catching up, like if you just need to watch everything and then go back, I do want to encourage you just to put the 15 minutes. I talked about this on Sunday. Put 15-30 minutes aside and work as you go. That way it's going to be so much easier instead of just trying to do everything at the end. So just take the 15 to 30 minutes and work as you go. Want to encourage you all to do that. So today we're going to be talking about those high expectations with your students. And that is our point today. We are going to go into this thinking, knowing what can we do to set these high expectations with our students, what are high expectations, and why they're important. So that's something that we're going to be discussing in a minute. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about building relationships and how to be intentional. Kind of shared with you all yesterday. This was an area that I struggled with, and I can't wait to share a story with you all about something that happened at the end of the year. Oh, Vivian, it's okay. Long as you're here. Long as you always show up, that is okay. But this really made me realize, this single event made me realize I need to be very, very intentional about this, like building relationships. Um, the next thing is planning the first week. So we're gonna just go in and we're gonna plug and play, like just plug in everything and put everything in and just plan. And let's just say plug and plan the first week of school. So we'll plan out our icebreakers that we're gonna do. We're going to plan out, our read alouds for the first week. Next week, some Thursday, we are also going to plan out our do nows. What do we want to do for our do nows? What do you want to do when kids enter the room? So we're going to work through that for the first week. So you'll have a plan. And the last day, Friday, we're going to talk about a checklist. So just kind of go through some things that you all mentioned throughout the week that you all want to hit those important points on throughout the week. We are going to be doing that as well. So let's go ahead and I'm going to share with you today's journey. And then I'm going to do a quick check-in before we dive into today's journey about yesterday, because I just want to check in to see how you all were doing with that and if you all had any questions about that before we dive into today's journey. But we're going to do a welcome and then the why, like why are we here, which is always important to do. Then we're going to reflect about our own personal, how we were with setting expectations. The next thing we're going to do is how to do it. We're going to talk about some challenges, and then we're going to set some action steps. So that's the flow of today. That's what we're going to do. So before I dive into why this is important, I would like to know in the chat, if you can put in the chat for me, how did were you all able to work through the activity? And if you can, just as a quick review, I know I asked you all this yesterday, but I'm going to ask you all again. What were your final things, your 5 classroom procedures that you all decided that you're going to teach? And then I would like you to share one way that you're going to teach those procedures. So if you can share in the chat 5 first, we're going to do this first. 5 of the procedures you're going to teach the first week. So if you can go ahead and just share that in the chat. And then the next question, just to get you prepared, is how are you going to teach those? What is something that you're going to do to be able to teach those? That is just to make sure, holding you all a little bit accountable to make sure that before we dive into today, that you have at least know, and you at least know what 5 procedures you are going to be teaching the first week of school. And that's really important for Thursday. So I'm going to give you a moment to drop that in the chat. Just as a refresher, some people said that they're going to talk about going to teach how they're going to enter the classroom. Some people mentioned that they are going to share how to pick up or show students how to pick up their things. I know I said that my priority is showing the students how to walk to class and when they come into class, how to pick up those materials. So I would love for you all to share in the chat some of the things that you would like to do. No, yeah, it's perfectly fine. I am going to make sure that I have all of this pulled up for you as well. So I see that. And Vivian, I definitely understand dealing with family matters. I really feel like I think people know, like for me, it's like the last week. And they're like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? And I'm like, where was this like 8 weeks ago? What you need that? But I'm gonna make sure to, if you're late or whatever, you have everything in one place, that everything is in one place and you will be able to access it in one place. So I'm going to give you another moment to do that. And if you're watching this on replay, then just jot those down. Just make sure that you all are very clear about that. Let me see. All right, Miss Hudgens says she's doing entering the class, putting away electronics, getting out material. Oh, okay, getting out materials. I did not think about, because I know high school students have electronics. turning in work and absence and missing and late work, I would explicitly teach those with images and modeling. I love how specific you are. You said images and modeling. I love that. I love that you are going in and you have a plan. Like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I am going to teach it. I absolutely love that. So if you can, if you're not able to do it right now, just like I said, just make sure if you have not, you have those 5 things in place. And how are you going to teach it to your students? Just make sure you have that plan ready for the first week. Candace says she's going to enter exit classroom, answer questions, turning and filling out papers. She's going to use modeling with example and non-example. I like that. I like that idea of, like, this is how it should look, like, and this is how this should not look. I think that gives very clear expectations to the students, and there's no confusion about that. And I'm actually, I've made sure I have my notepad next to me. I like that. I keep seeing it at examples and non-examples, because like I told you, I'm doing this too, you all. So with modeling and brainstorming, like have them brainstorm what it looks like. Yeah. Vivian says she's focused on entering the classroom, asking questions, going to the bathroom, picking up the materials, end of class dismissal. And I'm going to use the I do, we do, and you do. I love that too, because that's a good way to get them the practice model, and they get it in 3 times. So I love that. Adam said he's going to do transitions and moving in the classroom. Hallway walking, whew, that's always, I'm with you on that one. That's huge. Bathroom and water breaks, cleanup, modeling. He's going to do it with modeling and images. I love that. I love that you all have a plan. I'm so proud of you all. And I'm sitting here taking notes too. I love this modeling and images. That way, it also overcomes one of those challenges we talked about yesterday. Maybe like language barriers. Maybe the students just need to have it just reinforced a couple of times. So that's great. That's great. So thank you all for sharing in the chat, and it's helping anybody else that's coming behind that needs any kind of, support on it. So I'm going to dive in today. Like, why is it important for us to set high expectations for our students? And I found this great resource that I'll reference later on to you all and share the link to that too. But one of the reasons why it's important is it helps students strive for their goals. Like, it doesn't matter if they're in kindergarten, pre-K, whatever grade, up to 12th grade, they need to have very tangible, specific goals. And having high expectations, having something to strive for is amazing for all students. The next reason why is important for your students is it impacts their self-worth and their attitude. Now, I've noticed this a lot, especially for me. It seems like, just from my experience so far, elementary students seem pretty motivated. Like, they are, to me so far, motivated. I don't know what happens quite in middle school. It's a vast difference. So it's when I was setting goals with my elementary students this year, they were motivated. Like, they love seeing, like, their growth chart going up. They love that. It was a little bit more difficult in middle school, and I'm sure because middle schoolers, and they have a lot more going on, and so it worked, but I had to be way, way more intentional and really figuring out what motivates them. It was, of course, it's different for everybody. And so that's something to think about. It really does, when you're setting these goals and setting high expectations, it really impacts them, and it impacts their attitude. It impacts, like, how they feel about themselves. And you can tell the difference. If you want to try it out, if you want to try to do it with a class you don't do it, and versus a class where you do it, and then you can compare the differences, hey, try it. I know that it works. And if you've done this before, I would love to hear your feedback in the comment on why you think it's important as well. The next thing is, and I've seen this as a coach a lot. And then I know people were like, well, you've seen it. Like, what's the research behind it? So I actually found some research behind it, and I know we are very data and research driven. So that's what I will link to you. But I saw this as a coach, and I couldn't quite explain it. And I was like, it's got to be research around this. And I found some. So I will make sure to link that. But low level expectations can translate to low level activity. So I used to see this all the time as a coach. Like teachers would have like it would be like middle school, and then they would have like A B C D E F G games, like alphabet games. And then they would do like an alphabet Kahoot. And these kids are like 6th through 8th grade, wide range of like proficiency levels, but they're doing things like this in the class. And then I would ask them afterwards when we're kind of going through the process of coaching, like, hey, share with me why did you pick that activity for your students? And a lot of times I would hear, well, they're newcomers and they just can't, they can't do anything else. And it would translate into the type of activities that they would have for their students. So it's really important that I'm not saying that you should have things like extremely difficult, but you should have activities that are challenging for your students and put those scaffolds and supports in place so they can be successful with those activities. Um, so yes, please make sure that when you're doing this, when you have those high expectations, you're going to have high level activities. You're going to have high engagement for your students. Um, Vivian says, "Are we going to be able to revisit the comments after we're done on Friday?" I think so. I think, Vivian, at least what I know I can do is download a chat. On YouTube, I have to figure out, I think it's a button I can click that shows all of the comments. And if on Facebook, you all can see, that's why I really wanted it on Facebook, because you can see all of the comments for sure. And then I'll leave it on YouTube and on Facebook so you all can go back and read the comments. That's a really good point. And let me put that on right there, jot that down really quickly. Leave so you can access comments. Yeah, I know personally need to access them because I've seen some really good ideas that I want to use. So I would like to know, like, if why do you think setting high expectations are important for your students? So if you have an opinion on it, please share that in the comments. I would love to know why you think it's important. These are some of the things that I've experienced, and one thing in particular about the low level expectations that, of course, like I say, is backed by research. But I would love to know your opinion. If you're comfortable sharing that, please put that in the chat. Um, so, what we're going to go ahead and do right now is dive into our reflection as well. So, if you can think back on the previous school year, how were you setting and modeling high expectations with your students? And look, I'm not saying, for if you don't feel comfortable putting that in the chat right now, at least be honest and just write it down in your workbook. How were you doing it? If you were doing it. This is one thing I've learned about like reflecting, just even in my own personal life, is being honest with myself. Like, it's just me, right? So I want to be honest with myself. If I was not doing this, I want to be honest and say to myself, I wasn't setting and modeling high expectations. And something I want to do and I want to change. So I want to encourage you all to think back on the previous school year. How were you doing it? I'm sure you all were doing it in some form of another. Like, were you doing growth mindset activities with your students? Were you doing affirmations with your students? Were you providing them with specific feedback so they can have growth? Like, what were some things that you were doing that shows that you believe in your students? You have high expectations for them. So please share that in the comments. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds of think time and give you a minute and a half to write those down as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and look through some of the comments while you're doing it. And let me set my timer while you share those in the comments. Yes. Okay, give y'all about 1 more minute. Okay, we have about 20 more seconds. Okay, great. So you all have some really good ones that I'm going to share in the comments. Um, So Vivian was sharing that you're showing your students that you care about them and their success. That is so true. Like it does show them like, look, I'm here for you, and these are the things that I'm going to do and put in place to make sure that you are successful at the end of the day. Hannah says they're important because kids deserve to have teachers who care about their growth and learning. Yes, I definitely am seeing a pattern here because having these high expectations, and you all, this is a light bulb moment for me right now. So thank you, Vivian and Hannah, for saying this. It is a light bulb moment that it does show that, hey, I care about you and I care about what your classwork, and it does just once again another light bulb moment tie into that building relationships with your students. It is a way to do that because they see, oh, Miss Williams care, Miss Hannah cares, Miss Vivian cares because they want me to do well. So it's kind of like, yeah, like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost. I love it. Rhonda says written feedback. Rhonda, I know I didn't realize how powerful written feedback is for students. I did this one year. I don't know if I shared this with you all. I did rubrics and for my middle schoolers, and I would put written feedback on there, and I think I was slipping off. I wasn't being as consistent, and then they would hold me accountable. Be like, "Well, why didn't you put? Why don't you have as much written feedback on mine, or why didn't you write as much on mine? So, Rhonda, that is such a good point about written feedback. Hannah also added that she thinks that high expectations help students take learning more seriously. It does. It really does hold them accountable to their learning, especially when you start adding in that growth mindset, that data in there with them. That is so true. Vivian shared that she's setting and modeling high expectations for her students by doing the same for me as a teacher per lesson and sharing mine with them. Also, she's doing repetition, and consistency. Yes, I think just seeing them seeing you being consistent with maybe the feedback, modeling, showing them over and over again is really powerful, and it kind of helps them get into a routine as well. I just don't understand how people. I struggle with this. I know there's some teachers that do have um, classrooms that it feels very to me unstructured. I know every teacher is different. But I never really understand, and I'm like, how is this working right now? How is it? It works for some people, but yeah, but being that, if it's not structured, I would struggle with being consistent. So that's important. Adam says complimenting them honestly based on strengths. That is a good point. Praising their intelligence, telling them about their potential, and how I believe they could go far. Yes, just having those affirmations. Adam, I love that. Just saying like genuine things that you see every day. I am going to write that one down too because that's something I need to be more intentional about. It's funny. Like I said, elementary. I see students. They're like, I know I'm smart, and like as you get to middle school, it's something happens. I'm sure a lot happens, but they're kind of. So that's really important. Giving genuine. I'm writing this down for my own personal compliments. I love that to the students as well. Um, Ms. Hudgens says, encouraging students who are not attempting assignments. Yes, I talk about this actually. Tell them they know something is difficult, but I will help them. I love that. Providing one on one help and lots of scaffolds and resources. This is just gold. Yes. Letting them know, like, I'm here as to support you and to help you. And I'm surprised, and this is something I have to work on as an adult too. But, I struggle with asking for help, and I'll tell my students this too. I was like, I struggle, and someone made a good point to me. Most people want to help you, genuinely want to help you. They may not know how to help, but they want to help. And so a part of your job is to say, hey, I need help with, ABC or whatever. Like, this is what I need help with, and explaining that. So that's really powerful. Elsie said, or Elise said, students with 90% on quizzes and tests and projects get a sticky note. Write their name on it and stick it on the superstar board in the classroom. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It says add to broadcast. Can I add? Do you all see that? Oh, I can add you all's comments to here. So maybe that's how I can make this work. I love that. I love that. Oh, okay. So let me see you all. I don't figured out something new. Because some of you all are on YouTube and some of you all are on Facebook. I am going to be showing out all week since I have figured this out. That is so cool. I love that. I love that. Ms. Hudgens says checking on her success in other classes as well, not just mine. Ms. Hudgens also said including multicultural authors and resources, allow them to show their knowledge and understanding in many ways, visual, their own language, and verbal. This is just amazing. So I'm going to add these just so as I'm reading them so you all can see. Let me go ahead and do this. Vivian says, and how about you all okay with this? I recognize when I'm overwhelmed, I may have moments that I let it slide. Then later during my reflections, I noticed the effect of the change. I go and jump on the wagon again. So probably those teachers go through that same experience. That's a really good point too. Maybe they're kind of go through in that cycle. And I do that too. I do that too. And I noticed that it gets really bad around closer to the holidays. When we're still like going out for like fall break or close to Christmas break, it does get worse during those times. Thank you all for sharing it. And then maybe I can add all of these to the broadcast, and that way you can have them as that you all can see them later. So I'm going to go to the next reflection, and this was something really quickly that you all can answer in the chat, but I would like to know, what were some parts of your lesson where you could have modeled high expectations? Now, this for me, when I was writing this, the thing that came to mind for me was during read alouds. Now, they are a lot different. For me, I realized, of course, in elementary, so I was really making an adjustment. And so when I was doing read alouds, I could have, encouraged the students, hey, let's think about this specific skill. I want you to give me more details about your answer. I want you to go in depth a little bit more. So for me, when I was thinking about my lessons, I could have dug a little bit deeper during the read alouds and modeling high expectations to the students. And what I mean by that is really holding them accountable for their thinking during a read aloud, not just letting them sit there and just let me read. So I should have modeled that more about what I expect of them during this time. I just was like, let me just read a book. So that was my personal, something I struggled with, was modeling high expectations during read aloud. Like, I went in, read, and then, and if I'm being honest with myself, it became a low level activity of them just, listening to me read. And there are some benefits to that, but I could have definitely elevated that with my students by adding some things in there. So I would love to know if you want to take about 30 seconds and then give you a minute to reflect on this. Like, what were some parts of your lesson where you could have modeled high expectations for your students last year? And if you don't feel comfortable sharing, that is okay too, because this is something personal and you do have to be vulnerable for it. And so if you don't feel comfortable sharing, that's fine. But that was just my personal one. Oh, yeah, Vivian. I know for me, definitely turn, talk, and share. I struggle with that one a lot too. I definitely struggle with turn, talk, and share, modeling like high expectations during that time. And I'm just brainstorming with you, Vivian, just as a follow up question. How would you do it? Would you add like sentence frames, like complex sentence frames for them to use during that time? Would you do a timer? Like, if you can do it again, just as a bounce back some ideas for you, like how would you do that during that time? Um, Hannah says, I wish last year I would have modeled high expectations for group or partner work. I realized some of my kids still worked independently during group assignments. These are all really good reflections, you all. And I think, thank you all for being vulnerable. And I want to say, I think a lot of teachers struggle with that too, Hannah, is group and partner work. And, this is making me think, like I said, I'm doing my reflections live with you all too. This is making me think about some of my lessons as well, about group and partner work. Because a lot of times I feel like it can be just like a side thing. Like, okay, just get in a group and just work with a partner. Where sometimes we and as teachers need to be really more intentional about the group and partner work and setting expectations about what you expect, how you expect it to look, how do you expect it to act, and I think that's really really important. So thank you all for sharing those reflections. If you do feel comfortable sharing any more in the comments, but if you want to keep that, I know that's personal, so I completely understand that as well. So I'm gonna go into like how to do it. Like, here are some strategies on how to do this. Things that I've researched and things that I've seen work for me in my classroom, as well. And if you have some other strategies that you want to share in the comments, please share those strategies in the comments. The first thing, and you all touched on this, ask them to try again. This is huge. This is really huge. I know I have done this a lot last year. And I'm gonna give you a quick personal story. So when I started to do now, it's the 5 senses do now, and I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make a special one for you all. So that's why I haven't given it yet for you all that showed up live. I'm gonna give you all a special set of them. But ask them to try again. So I had a 5 senses do now where they come in, I have a picture, and they use their 5 senses to describe what's in the picture. And so at first, I really hope I can go this week and show you all some of their work. But it was just really simple stuff. And these were students that scored like level 4, level 5 on their writing. And they would just put, I see a apple, or I see an apple. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You need to go back and you need to try again. I know that you can do better than this. I know it. And this is how I know it. Because when you took your writing assessment, you scored a level 4. And if you scored a level 4, I know you can do this, this, and this. So asking them to try again. And it goes kind of back to what Vivian said is, keep repeating it. If they keep coming at you with stuff that you know that they can do better, repeat. Okay, I need you to go back and I need you to try again. I need you to go back and I need you to try again. And being consistent about that. I need you to go back and I need you to try again. And eventually they'll get like, okay, I need to give 120% on my first try. So do not be afraid, and let them know ahead of time. Look, if this is not your best, and I know we all know if it's their best or not, I will ask you to go back and do it again. So that is one way, the surefire way, and you all mentioned that already. I think one of you all mentioned, I think it was Hannah, mentioned that you can do this. The next one is set achievable and challenging tasks. So this is really heavy to me, rooted in you going through and looking at their data before they get back. So that's, I'm not trying to do too much on you all's plate, but if you can look at their language assessment scores, here they have like Lexia, they have like the teachers have like their running reading records. Any data that you can look at before you get your students will help you in setting achievable and challenging tasks for your students. Like I knew many of my students could write at least on a level 4 because their data showed me that they can do it. So I knew that when I was setting tasks, most of my tasks that I was setting were like, okay, I know they can go up to like a 4.5. I know they can go up to a 5 because, this is just a little step up. So that helped me in setting those tasks. So to do that, you will have to look at their data and kind of dive into that. And that will also help guide your lesson planning for the school year, just as a quick note. And if you all want to share in the chat how you do it, please share in the chat. You already mentioned this as well. Provide specific feedback on all quality of work. This is something, and I'm guilty of this too. I'm really good about providing feedback on maybe low quality work, but I had to be very intentional about providing feedback, specific feedback on high quality work as well. Not just putting a sticker say great job, but giving them, if they have high quality work, giving them specific feedback on how they can go up to the next level. I noticed this. I had a one year I was very fortunate, and the way they scheduled my students, they scheduled them by level. So that was a really good benefit for this particular year. And with that high level students, those students that almost exited, I was able to teach them ELA. And this was gold. A lot of them exited, I think, because of this, because I was able to provide them with very specific feedback on their high quality work. And when it was time for them to take these assessments, they were able to really apply that feedback. So please do that. The next thing, you already mentioned this as well, right? You all are on it, is modeling the expectations to the students. So you show them what you want. Like you show them how it looks. You model and you show them these are my expectations of you. And also make sure that you are practicing what you're preaching, so you are, I'm also doing this as well. These are things that I'm also doing. And what that looks like for me is practicing and keeping track of my own data. So I tell the students, like, I'm keeping track of my own data as well. When I come in, this is what I'm doing. So you're modeling for the students. And you all know kids are like sponges. They're just going to soak it all up. So model those expectations that you have for the students. The next thing, you all mentioned this as well. You all great. You all encourage confidence in your students. So encourage them as much as you can. I, once again, heard so much in middle school. It just used to break my heart. And I don't know why people would say things about like this about themselves, but the kids would say, "I'm stupid." I'm like, wait a minute. Why would you call yourself stupid? Like, why would you? It used to just, I would just be so flabbergasted that they would just say things like that about themselves. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We are not going to say that about ourselves. Like, you are not stupid. Like, in really doing the work to help them believe that and show them that they are intelligent and smart. And that goes back, you all, to setting those goals with them, digging into the data with them, setting tasks that they can achieve. They're still challenging, but you know that they can do it. Providing that feedback. And like I think Adam said it, just giving them genuine compliments about it. It just breaks my heart. Used to hear that, like, kids say that about themselves, and I'm like, don't ever say that about yourself. Ever say anything like that about yourself. And I'm in listening to some of the comments, and you all were mentioning in the comments, Vivian says that she's found the video where she can share on how to turn, talk, and share. That would be great, Vivian. Adam says students staying focused and on task. Sandra mentioned integrating all proficiency levels together, and each student has a role. Even our level 1 students can draw and share their thoughts. These are really great strategies. I'm going to see if I can go back and include these in the video. Adam shared focus in their talk on the topic and get them back on topic. And Vivian says, I wish I could group my students by proficiency level. Yes, like these are all really good strategies as well. I didn't realize how powerful it was grouping them by proficiency levels, because even if you group by proficiency levels, you still have a wide range even in that level. So that year was, oh my goodness, it was just amazing that year to be able to do that. And also, Adam, you mentioned focus in their talk on the topic and get them back on topic. Adam, how do you do that? I'm curious, Adam, do you teach middle school? And that'll be a good strategy. How do you, because they will get, I know they will get me off topic all the time. So this kind of goes into what Adam was saying, is engaging with the students. This is one, like, I'll kind of share with you all as well. And it just may just be my personality, I think. But but I'm one of those people, like, I'm like, okay, let's jump in and let's get to work. And a lot of the students are like, oh, Miss Williams, we want to play Boggle, or we want to play Gimkit, or we want to do this. And I'm like, I don't want to play a Boggle. I don't want to do Gimkit. I want us to get in here, dive into these standards. We got things to do, you know. Um, but my student teacher, shout out to Jessie, I gotta send these to her. She really opened up my eyes to this. And she would play, what is that? Is it Boggle? Like, it was something on New York Times, and I guess it's maybe it's Boggle. I don't know what it is, but you have to guess a 5 letter word for the day, and just that simple activity of with her engaging with them. Oh my goodness! I mean, I was just amazed how it tied into having high expectations for your students. At first, I thought, oh, what is this? You know, um, but it was such a powerful activity of engaging, just taking those 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes, however you do the activity, engaging with them, and it really helped their vocabulary. So just something like that really was eye opening. And the last thing is explicitly teach your students about growth mindset. Like, there are so many, and I can link to some of them on Teacher Pay Teacher. I haven't made anything because really it's so many free activities on Teacher Pay Teacher, but I can link you all some about growth mindset. Link to growth mindset activities, and there's so much stuff out there, but I will link my favorite free ones for you all. That's what it's called, Vivian, Wordle. Wordle. She would do Wordle with them, and oh my goodness. And I need to write that down because she had found a Wordle activity, a Wordle website where she can create her own Wordle with the kids and each day. And I'm thinking that would be a really good do now for them, where I can still do the standards and still incorporate vocabulary and then do that. So make sure I write that down. But yeah, teach them about growth mindset. Uh, show them how to do SMART goals. I do SMART goals with my students, but teach them about that and show them how to do that and show them how to set goals. And that is, I cannot stress enough, so powerful with your students and setting and modeling those high expectations with them. And you're probably just really quickly like, well, what does this have to do with the first week of school? This has everything to do with the first week of school, because this sets the tone for your classroom. So this sets the tone for how you are planning your lessons with your students. So please do not just skip by this thing, okay, this has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with all of us. So I encourage you all to do that. Here is the infographic. I put it in the link. But I absolutely love this because, like, right here, like in the pink section, it says the number one, it says create a warm and supportive classroom. And they give you strategies to do that. And like I said, I will link it again for you all. And then it kind of goes up, right? And they have this little quote, but then it says clearly communicate learning goals. And I used to be one of those people where standards and things really, really intimidated me because, like, it's just so overwhelming until I really started to dive into them. And when I started diving into the standards and really learning, like, this is the goal, this is what I want you to do, and putting them in student friendly terms, I really noticed just amazing growth in my teaching. And then the third one is used mixed ability groupings. Um, and at first, I was like, well, what does this have to do with, setting high, expectations? What does that have to do with it? And I realized when I was looking over this is that by using those mixed ability groupings, it can do a lot of things. For one, just thinking about my own personal experience, when I do use mixed ability groupings, a lot of those times, and you can still do this even within proficiency levels, like I mentioned earlier. You can have a level, an advanced class, but still have mixed ability groupings. It doesn't necessarily think that, oh, I just have high students, then I can't have mixed ability groupings. If you use the data, then you will see that maybe some of the students are struggling with this and some of the students are struggling with that, and you just want to have a mixture in that group. And that can look like different things. But in those mixed ability groupings, I noticed that there were students in there that would be like, hey, can you explain this to me? Like, can you show me how to do this in this activity? Or you will have some students kind of teaching, like, okay, this is how you do X, Y, and Z. I noticed that sometimes in those mixed ability groupings that the language, right? So the students will be talking and they're kind of, I want to say forced, right? But you're kind of like forced to communicate. And so they kind of do that in creative ways. And through this, you start seeing, right? Um, they'll start rising to the occasion a lot. So that's something. Just don't think just because you have newcomers, you can't have mixed ability groupings. Just using that data, you can determine that. So before we go today and dive into our questions, I want to explain to you all the workbook activity. And if you have your workbook activity, you can put this in the workbook or in the chat. But I would like to know, what are 2 to 3 actions? You have more in the book, but what are some very specific things that you can do the first week of school so that you can set high expectations with your language learners? What are some things that you can do? I'm going to go ahead and set a timer, but while I'm setting this timer, I am going to put in the chat the link to the PDF that I just said. This is going to help you all out as well. Let's see. And I'll give you all a minute and 30 seconds to do that. Let's see, folders. Oh. Okay, here it goes. I hope you all can see it. Okay. Okay, you'll have about 45 more seconds. Okay. So, if you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, what are some specific actions you can take to set these high expectations with your language learners? I know for me, like going looking, because I'm using like that resource to make sure to give me some specific ideas on how to do that. But I'm looking at mine. Where did I put it? And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I am genuinely engaging with the students that first week of school and beyond, but being very intentional about how to do that. I always, like I said, I'm going to dive into the data. So that would guide me into setting those challenging tasks. So those are two things that I'm going to do. I'm going to share. I hope you all are okay with this. I'm going to put some of you all on the screen so we can share out. Star. Okay. Miss Hudgens says she's going to get to know them, make sure that they get to know me. I love that part too. Make sure they also get to know you. Show that I want to do my best for them by admitting and correcting my own mistakes. That is, yes. Even if I have to fake a mistake to correct. I love that because that kind of shows them, or not kind, it does show them that you're vulnerable and you're just like them and you make mistakes and you're going to model for them like, oh, I made a mistake. This is how I fix my mistake. And I love that. That is such a great strategy. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Let's see. Adam says that he's going to dive into data to provide challenging lessons. I know it's hard, but I will help you and positively complement the strengths. I love that, Adam. Like, I love that you are going to dive into like what specific data that they have, and it doesn't have to be just their ELA data, like their English language arts. It can be their math, it can be their social studies, science, whatever data that you can find on them before the beginning of the school year. Ms. Hudgens says, give them individual encouragement as much as possible. I love that. Like I said, oh my goodness, they need it. Like, it's sometimes you think, I mean, am I being silly for saying this? But you really realize that they need those positive words every day. Gonna like this. MG says, modeling desired outcome by working through a task on the board with them. I like this idea too, right? I love that too because you can show them like share your thinking, and I think sometimes we don't realize how powerful that is. It's for them to actually hear us think through something. Kind of putting that into words. And this is a side note. When I tell my students, this is more so middle school, I mean elementary, I tell them like if I'm thinking, can y'all just be quiet? Just listen. I have some students like and I have to say, you all, put your hands down. Put your hands down. Candace says that model on how to reflect on current ability and next steps. I think this is also a very powerful strategy as well, is modeling how to reflect. Because we think sometimes students know, like, you should know how to do this, right? And a lot of times they don't, right? So I love that. I love that. I'm gonna add Vivian's to here. I'm gonna make so hopefully you all can see Vivian. Vivian says, find videos showing how to follow routines and procedures. If I do not have it, then record it with the group that are good at it and show it to the rest of my groups. I love that. And I really want to do that too. Find videos on how to turn, talk, and share, and if not, make it. 3, do a lesson on growth mindset. Oh my goodness, they're gonna love those lessons, and I'm gonna make sure to share some with you all. Give them can-do statements according to their grade level and proficiency level, and have them assess themselves. You know what jumps out at me that Vivian said here? Grade level and proficiency level. Because I encounter a lot of ESL teachers, and you all seem perfectly fine with this, but there are so many ESL teachers you meet and you encounter, and and I get it. A lot of times our students are not on grade level, but they still need access to grade level tasks. And you can, I think, and I go back, somebody said it in the comments, you can scaffold, you can differentiate, you can do things to kind of stair step there, but give them access to it. There are some teachers that don't even want to give them access. So Vivian says, write okay on the ones you think that you master and a question on ones you think that you can improve. And I could use this information to prepare my lesson plans. Yes, these are all very powerful strategies that you all can use. And I'm like you now, Vivian. I really need to make sure to figure out how I can save these comments. And you all, I understand some of you all will have to go. That's perfectly fine. I understand. I'll make sure to resend this out to you all. And I want to just share some challenges. If you want to share any challenges you think that might happen and pop up, please share those in the comments as well. Um, One of the biggest ones that I've noticed and I've kind of hinted at a lot is our own mindset. If like, look, if you genuinely don't think your students can do it, they are going to pick up on it. And I've told this story so many times to some people, but it's just been so many days where I've come into class and I think I'm like, hi everyone, how are you doing? And in the inside, I am just like screaming. But I've come into class and I'm just trying to put on a brave face for everybody. And they pick up on it real quick. They like, you are not okay. What is wrong with you? What is your problem? They pick up on it. And they pick up on if you really don't believe that they can do it. They know almost immediately. So I would suggest that if deep down if this is something you struggle with, I encourage you to work on your own mindset. Like, what is it about your students that you don't think that they can get to their goals? Like, what's going on there behind that? Why do you not believe that? And answer honestly, and then start to kind of unpack and work through it. And if this is you, and just a side note, and you're like, I just don't think that they can, I will encourage you to really figure out what part of that, um, why do you believe that? And start doing some professional development around that. And let me give you just an example, right? I mentioned a couple of days ago that, I really struggled and didn't know much about the science of reading. And so a lot of times when it came to things like that, I really kind of shied away from it. I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know, like, oh, I don't know about it. And it really took me to unpack that. Like, well, why do I think they won't get it? And I realized it was me. I just didn't feel confident in my teaching. And I'm like, that's not on them. That's on me. I need to fix that. Like, I need to figure out what I need to do to elevate myself and to grow and fix my own mindset around that and to be confident in teaching them that. And that's why I said I asked, I was vulnerable and said, I need help with this. Like, are there any kind of professional developments around this that I can go to? And I'm going to continue to go through to them throughout this school year. But really encourage you just to check your own mindset if this is something that you're struggling with. The next thing is just time constraints. I know a lot of us mention specific feedback and, make sure we're encouraging them. And sometimes, especially during the school year, we just get so bogged down with everything that it kind of falls by the wayside. But that kind of comes back to what we were saying is just being consistent with it and being intentional about it and reflecting on it. And if you can do that, that makes it a lot easier if you do struggle with time constraints. Um, I just mentioned this, just lack of professional development around this. I see so much professional development around everything else, but when it comes to talking about high expectations with the students and how it impacts our students, it doesn't seem to be a lot of professional development around it. And that's something that I know I'm going to be looking for as well. And if you have any professional development that you've seen, any books that you can recommend, please share those in the comments. I would love to know that, because that to me is a big challenge. One is being inconsistent. And what I mean by inconsistent is that you may do it with group A, but you're not doing it with group B. And if you're not doing it with group B, why? Why? Is group B just your struggle group and you're like, oh my goodness, is group B the group that, you are having the most challenges with moving? Like, why? Why? What is causing you to be inconsistent, and really reflecting on that and coming to terms with it and determining what are the steps that you need to take to fix it. Um, and the next challenge is just setting clear and realistic expectations, is kind of going back to making sure that those expectations that you have for your students are achievable, they're attainable, but at the same time they're realistic. And you can still have high expectations for your students, but at the same time very realistic expectations for your students. And that goes back into looking into your students' data. And an example of this is that if I have, for example, a newcomer, a level one student, and they just got here, I'm still going to have high expectations for them. I'm still going to expose that student to grade level text, but I am going to make sure that I'm putting those scaffolds and those supports in place so they can achieve those goals that I have in place. Their goals, those newcomers' goals, are going to look different from those students that are a level 5 and a level 6. That's okay. But you still need to have a high expectations for those newcomers and those life students, all of them. There's no difference. So I just want to encourage you all that. If you have some challenges that you've encountered, share those in the comments. I would love to hear some of those challenges or any feedback on any of the challenges that I mentioned. Please share those. I want to go over today's homework. And today's homework is that in the workbook there is high expectations homework is labeled high expectations homework in the book. So go ahead and do the homework on that. Is basically some of the questions that I asked. How are you going to do this? What are some action steps that you're going to do? And coming up with a plan. It should take you about 15 minutes after today's session to do those things. So make sure that you complete that homework. And the second thing is research some growth and mindset activities for your students to do on the first week. You can do some very simple ones. They can just be, you can go to Teacher Pay Teacher and download SMART goals. Like, you can do that. So research some activities that you can do with your students on this first week that you can add into those activities. And I think for Thursday, I might fix it to where we have some in there to where you can use as well. So please share those. I would like to know for this week, what is one small win that you have? And if you don't have one for this week, just share one for the summer. So I'm going to give you about a minute to share some of those in the comments, some of your small wins that you have for the week. Now, y'all, I don't know if I'm not seeing y'all wins, but I know y'all have a win. I know you all did something. I know you all did something. I'm holding you all accountable to celebrate yourself this week. Even if your win is showing up today. That's a win. So I want to encourage you all to celebrate yourself. Um, all during the school year. Like, write down a small win, celebrate yourself. It doesn't have to be something huge every day. Just think about something that you want to celebrate at the end of the day. I want to celebrate you, and I want you all to celebrate yourself. Vivian says that she was reluctant to do PD during the summer, but this one's been great because it set me in the path to organize myself for the next school year. Vivian, that means the world to me. And I'm the same way. I was like, I don't want to do any professional development at all. Y'all, side note, this my supervisor sent one and was like, can you all do this? And I'm like, I don't know. So this means the world to me that you all are excited to do this and helping you all. And you all have been so helpful to me. I mean, I'm sitting over here. You should see my notepad. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to keep these comments now. Because you have given me a lot to think about and a lot of strategies, and I cannot wait to like plan later today and get all of these out. So thank you all for that as well. I don't see any questions. I know Vivian had one about earlier about the about the chat, because like I said, this chat has been a gold mine. So I'm going to figure out. I know on YouTube how to keep the chat. I'm pretty sure I can figure out how to do it. If it's on Facebook, a lot of you all commented on Facebook. A lot of you all, about half and half actually, did YouTube as well. So I'm going to figure out and do some research how to go back and get the live chat so we can have that and make sure it's posted under each video and do a chat transcript as well. I know I can do at least do that, a chat transcript. So I'll make sure to do that as well. But if you have any questions or comments after, if you're watching this afterwards, just tag me in the post. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you all have. Here's a reference. I make sure to link this. I'll share this in the comments afterwards, but they have so many resources on setting high expectations. It's called the Education Hub, and they have so many resources on it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a gold mine. So I am going to make sure to link that as well for you all. I want to thank you all for being here today. I will be here tomorrow, of course, at 11 a.m., where we talk about building relationships with our students. So I will see you all on Wednesday. So once again, thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.